Shalom, everyone, and welcome back. I bring you this video in great sadness, remembering the life of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, who passed away this last Shabbos morning, very tragically and rather suddenly. His cancer was diagnosed several months ago, and certainly we did not expect this. I never met Rabbi Sachs, but I am a very great fan of his. I listen to his lectures. I have read some of his books, and I was very, very touched by him. I've heard practically every talk he ever gave, and I was very, very shocked by it. Rabbi Sachs left an indelible impression on not just the Jewish people, but the entire world. And I'd like to just tell you a little bit about him. He was born in England in 1948, passed away at the age of only 72 years old. He came from a not such a learned family. His father really, he used to say that his father was not knowledgeable in Judaism, but he had great faith in God. And Rabbi Sachs started off by going to college, to Cambridge. He studied in Cambridge University, and he studied philosophy there. But he was a seeker, and he was looking around and seeing what he could do to the world to make the world into a better place. At a young age, in the 1960s, Rabbi Sachs, I guess late 1960s, Rabbi Sachs decided to go to New York and have an audience with the Rebbe, with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And there he met with the Rebbe, a young man, and he told the Rebbe he wasn't sure where he should go. Should he be a philosopher? Should he be an economist, perhaps a lawyer? The Rebbe stunned him by saying that we have plenty of economists and lawyers and philosophers, and we don't really need any more of them. But what we do need is rabbis. And we need you to go out and to really to spread Judaism to the world. And he was so touched by that audience. He had another audience, I think, a few years later, but the Rebbe inspired him to pursue a career in the rabbinate, which took him to be the chief rabbi of Golders Green Synagogue, very prominent synagogue in London, and then to the Marble Arch Synagogue. And then finally in 1991, he was appointed as the chief rabbi of the British Commonwealth. And there for some 20 years, until 2013, he devoted himself to teaching the lessons of Judaism that they would apply not just to Jews, but to the entire world. He traveled extensively. He wrote 30 books on various topics. He was admired and sought counsel by religious and non-religious thinkers and leaders alike. Particularly, he was very close to Prime Minister Tony Blair. They developed a close friendship. After a young child was murdered in London, John Major met him and was very touched by an article that he wrote about this tragedy as well. He was a worldwide leader. His talks on topics of terrorism, of morality, of everything are widely known. He wrote commentaries on the Siddur, the prayer book. He wrote commentaries on the Bible and the Chumash. And he was well on his way to finishing the entire Chumash when he was tragically struck down by this terrible disease. He disdained politics. He didn't speak about politics. He didn't want to, with one prominent exception, and that was anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. He was very much opposed to the current wave of anti-Semitism that was sweeping the world, and in particular, on a very, very rare occasion, he condemned the head of the Labour Party in England, Jeremy Corbyn, and he called him an anti-Semite. And as a result of it, the chief rabbi at the time, Edwin Mervis, also called him an anti-Semite, and eventually Corbyn was relieved of his duties and stepped down. But Jonathan Sachs was someone special to everyone who knew him and who listened to him or who read his books. To some, he was an advisor. To some, he was a teacher. To his family, he was a beloved husband, father, and grandfather. There's much that we can learn from him. His talks are found on YouTube extensively. I would encourage you to take a look at Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, or just Rabbi Jonathan Sacks on YouTube, and you will see a wealth of beautiful ideas, both Torah knowledge and secular knowledge as well, which he elaborated and brought together so beautifully. The world has lost a giant. It truly has. And it's a sad day for all Jews who were close to him and who learned from him. Interestingly, he passed away on Shabbos morning, just this last Shabbos morning, Parshas Vayera, and at his funeral in London, which was attended by very few people because of the regulations of COVID, many of the rabbis spoke about how interesting it was that he passed away on this particular parsha, because this parsha, Hashem appears to Avraham, and he inspires Abraham and directs Abraham to pursue his lifelong goal of spreading monotheism and goodness to the world. And indeed, that is what Jonathan Sacks did. That was his lifetime goal. He was not just a scholar, he was not just a rabbi, but he was someone who inspired other people to reach their potential and to make the world into a more moral place. And certainly during these difficult times that we're living in right now, and such divisions among us, the lessons of Rabbi Sacks are needed more than ever. So we wish Rabbi Jonathan Sacks an Aliyas HaNeshama. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of life, and may his memory and his teachings and his influence be felt for generations to come, as I'm sure they will. So again, I would encourage you to go online and take a look at what he wrote and what he spoke about, and you too will be inspired. Shalom, and have a good week.